Today I head out to Saguaro National Park, west, to check out some cactus flowers. And I have to designate it as Saguaro National Park West because there's also a Saguaro National Park East, which is located almost an hour away. And it's the time of year where the wildflowers have pretty much died off, but now the cactus are blooming, including our state flower, the saguaro bloom. Saguaro National Park East and West are in two completely different mountain ranges and have slightly different vegetation. In reality, I think the West is said to have more saguaro cacti. Saguaro National Monument was established by President Hoover in 1933, and it wasn't until 1994 that it got the full status as a national park. I read that it takes 8 years for a saguaro cactus to grow to an inch or an inch and a half. And it won't produce its first flowers or blooms until it's at least 35 years old. And its first arms won't start growing until it's 50 to 70 years old. How much do you think a full-grown saguaro cactus would weigh? And how tall do you think they grow? An adult saguaro cactus will grow to 50 feet high and will weigh 6 tons. That's because they're holding all that water in them. The average lifespan of a saguaro cactus is about 150 to 175 years old, but some live over 200 years. This cactus with these red or orange and even yellow blooms is a staghorn cholla. There's a number of different types of cholla cactus. Here's a couple more views of our state flower, the saguaro bloom. This is another type of cholla cactus, the Christmas cholla or pencil cholla. Another common yet interesting cactus is the ocotillo. There you see at the end of the branches the blooms. Bring it into focus a little bit. But much of the year it just looks like it's dead, and then it will leaf out and bloom. And there's some beautiful Pella verdes amongst the saguaro cactus, and a pink staghorn cholla. It's interesting, the variety and different colors of flowers. Each one seems a little bit unique. I guess I should mention that there's a visitor center here at Saguaro National Park West, but it's basically just on a public road. And all these areas that I've been to so far, you can just drive up to. I asked when I checked in at the visitor center if you have to pay a fee, and they said only if you're going out hiking. And I have my park pass, so I guess it doesn't really matter one way or another, but I doubt most of the people in most of these locations even went to the visitor center. This is on a little hard path trail that's only about a half-mile long, handicap accessible. It's about a half-mile away from the visitor center. At the visitor center, you can get a map of the park. They have restrooms, drinking fountains, can fill your water bottle. They've even got a movie that you can watch. And, of course, at the East Park, they've also got a separate visitor center. And both facilities are basically open from sunup to sundown. And here at the west, the scenic drive that's a dirt road, they do have some gates on, but you are allowed to walk or bicycle into the park at night. Look at those flowers. One's pink, one's yellow, right on the same flower. Another saguaro cactus. There's a barrel cactus. Looks like it had bloomed earlier. But wherever you look, it's just a scenic sight. All these prickly pear cactus. Looks like I'm going right into the middle of them. In other parts of the park, as I get to them, the cactus is so thick, you really have a hard time even walking through. And if you do much hiking through it, I guarantee you'll end up with some piece of cholla cactus stuck in your shoe, if not your arm or leg. But bring a comb and you can flick it back out. You'll be fine. Another cool thing, if you're at Saguaro National Park West, you just continue down the road a little further, and there's two cool attractions. The Arizona Desert Sonoran Museum, you can see a lot of cool animals, and also, there's the Visitor Center. And this is a view from the Visitor Center. Looks like an Old West movie, doesn't it? Well, that's what I was going to just mention. In addition to the Desert Sonoran Museum, the other attraction right out here is Old Tucson, which is an old movie set where a number of movies and TV shows were shot, all the different old westerns. Cool place to visit. Can look back and remember some of the TV shows and movies that I recall as a kid. Some of the movies filmed there include Tombstone, McClintock, Three Amigos, Rio Bravo, and even Revenge of the Nerds. You can still see the train there from the Wild, Wild West. And TV shows filmed there include episodes of Gunsmoke, Little House on the Prairie, and of course, High Chaparral. At any rate, this is a Palo Verde tree, and that's actually the state tree of Arizona. But if you recognize some of these desert flowers, some of these desert scenes, you may have just seen them in a movie. And you can see why they shoot movies out here. The scenery is spectacular. When I started my ramblings in my last video, I kind of lost track of where I was going. But all this movie talk has got me thinking about movies, and television even. We'll see if I lose track of where I'm going this time. I kind of maintain that even when I start rambling and I don't really get to where I meant to go, that if I made you think a little bit, well, I guess it was worthwhile. And a lot of times, as I think about one thing to say, 5 other thoughts jump into my head, and I go off in different tangents and directions. But I hope that as you think about some of the things I say, that the same thing happens with you. It spurs other ideas and thoughts. And that's always part of our motivation and how our creative process works. But at any rate, movies. What are some of your favorite movies? The number 1 movie this weekend is Guardian of the Galaxy 3. And since I never saw 1 or 2, it's doubtful that I'll see 3. But I guess they have music number of songs from artists from back in the 70s. Heart, Earth, Wind, and Fire, even Alice Cooper. Did you know Alice Cooper's from Phoenix? Went to Cortez High School. I'll bet they don't include his song School's Out. I don't know if they even play that on the radio anymore. School's out forever, school's been blown to pieces. Probably not socially acceptable. Here's your movie trivia question. What's the highest grossing movie of all time? And what's the highest grossing movie of all time adjusted for inflation? The Oscar-winning movie from this past year was Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And when the Oscars were announced, it was already on cable TV. So I thought, wow, I'll sit down and watch it. And I have to say that it just wasn't my thing. I got about halfway through it and I didn't even finish watching the rest. Just wasn't that interesting to me. If you guessed Avatar for the highest grossing movie, you'd be right. And I watched it at the IMAX in 3D. So at least I've seen that one. I liked it more than this year's Academy Award winner. The highest grossing movie of all time, adjusted for inflation, with Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh, is Gone with the Wind. Okay, I'm coming up to some sort of log building. See, there's just beautiful flowers everywhere. Here we've got some little red ones. But here's the pathway. Gotta walk over here to the pink flowers. Get back on the pathway. Let's explore a little more with the 3D camera as you think of some of your favorite movies or some of your favorite actors. Do you like Tom Hanks? I like him. Like Forrest Gump, Castaway, You've Got Mail. What are some older movies that you like that probably no one's ever heard of? One that comes to mind for me is The Majestic. It's probably my favorite Jim Carrey movie, though I also liked The Truman Show. The Majestic came out in December of 2001, the same time when I flew to Billings, Montana to see my daughter. I had a hotel room there that night and picked up my daughter, and much to my surprise, all the restaurants were closed because it was Christmas evening. And we ended up getting our dinner out of a gas station vending machine. But I think before we headed to Yellowstone Park the next day, we had a chance to go see a movie, The Majestic. And so part of it is that memory of Christmas with my daughter, but I also like the whole theme of the movie. The movie was set in 1951, and Jim Carrey's character was a famous movie producer who was accused of being a communist sympathizer. I won't give away the plot of the movie, but it's interesting because at that time there were actually hearings about people and their ties to communism. Many in Hollywood were blacklisted. Charlie Chaplin, who was beloved actor from the silent film era was accused of being a communist sympathizer. When he traveled to England for the premiere of one of his movies he produced, he was not allowed back in the United States, as it was suspected that he was a communist sympathizer. It wasn't until many years later that he was allowed back, and of course Hollywood recognized him for his great work. But the Majestic not only touched on this, but also what it was like for families when their sons had gone off to World War II and all those that had died serving our country. It made me miss my daughter, even though I was with her, but helped me realize don't take anything for granted. I also like the movie Groundhog Day. Yep, do it over again and again until you get it right, until you learn. Fun movie. Charlie Chaplin left us 4 statements. 1, nothing in this world is forever, not even our problems. 2, I love walking in the rain because no one can see my tears. 3, the most lost day in life is the day we don't laugh. And last, the 6 best doctors in the world are sun, rest, exercise, self-respect, and friends. So grab a friend, come out in the sun, get some exercise, and enjoy the beauty of the world. The Majestic only lasted in theaters for 3 days, so you probably haven't seen it. Another movie I got, simply because it had my daughter's name in it, I rented, and it was called Danny Deckchair. It stars the guy that was the crazy flatmate of Hugh Grant in Notting Hill. Another good movie, but it's a fun one to watch. All about adventure. And if you want adventure, how about The Gods Must Be Crazy? A little African man found a Coke bottle and went to throw it off the edge of the earth. Funny, some friends love it, some friends hate it. But having been through Africa, I enjoyed it immensely. Even the second one. Some movies kind of define the current culture, like in 1977, John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. Of course, just a few years later, Urban Cowboy came out and Disco Was Dead, and then it was Western Dance. Of course, I preferred John Travolta in the movie Phenomenon. Just kind of makes you think. Interesting movie. Kind I like. Not dance movies. When we hiked to Chocolate Falls, I got on Kelly because he'd never seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Watch the original one with Gene Wilder. There's also lots of good sports movies. How about The Natural with Robert Redford, or Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams? Movies anyone can still enjoy. I like the movie The Medicine Man with Sean Connery. Made me want to go explore the forest down in South America. The Sound of Music reminds me of my childhood and being with my family. Maybe I'll have to talk about movies more in another video, because I'm about done with this trip, and as evening sets, it's time to go home. So have a good night, enjoy your day, and we'll see you in the next video.